Okay, today we're going to talk about fractions, decimals, and percents. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to say, I can convert between fractions, decimals, and percents. Let's quickly review place value, because if I know place value, I can very easily convert between these three kinds of numbers. If I look at this number, to the left of the decimal, I have a 6. 6 is in the ones place. The 2 is in the tens place. The 5 is in the hundreds place. And the 1 is in the thousands place. To the right of the decimal, the 7 is in the tenths place. The 0 is in the hundredths place. And the 8 is in the thousandths place. So if I wanted to read this number, I would say 1,526 and 708 thousandths. Now, I'm going to start by looking at some decimals. Let's write each number in words. Number 1 is 3/10. Number 2 is 45 hundredths. Number 3 is 7 hundredths. Number 4 is 25 hundredths. Number 5 is 5 hundredths. And number 6 is 125 thousandths. I'm going to refer to how I write these or read these to help me turn these decimals into fractions. Now, let's write the fraction for each of these decimals. And the fraction is written the exact same way I would read each decimal. So 3/10 as a decimal is 3/10 as a fraction, written 3/10. Number 2, 45 hundredths is written 45/100. Number 3, 7 hundredths is written 7/100. Number 4, 25 hundredths is written 25/100. Number 5, 5 hundredths is written 5/100. And number 6, 125 thousandths is written 125/1000. From here, I can convert each decimal to a percent, as long as I remember that percent means out of 100. So, when I look at number 1, 3/10, I notice that my denominator is not 100. But I can very easily change 3/10 into an equivalent fraction that has a denominator of 100. Because 10 times 10 is 100, I would multiply 10 times 10 and then 3 times 10 to get 30/100, which is 30%. Now, 45 hundredths already has 100 in the denominator, so it's very easy to turn this into a percent, 45%. The same is true for number 3. 7/100, or 7 hundredths, is 7%. Number 4, 25/100, or 25 hundredths, is 25%. Same with number 5. 5/100, or 5 hundredths, is 5%. Now when I get to number 6, I notice that 1,000 is much larger than 100. But I can still turn 1,000 into 100 by dividing it by 10, because 1,000 divided by 10 is 100. So if I divide the denominator by 10, I also have to divide the numerator by 10. 125 divided by 10 is 12.5, or 12 5/10. 12.5/100 is 12.5%, and we can have half percents. Now look at the table. If I wanted to complete this table by turning 35 hundredths into a fraction, I would write it as 35/100, and the percent is then 35%, because I have my fraction with a denominator of 100. Go ahead and pause the video and complete the table. However, this video is not done. When you finish completing the table in your notebooks, hit continue the video because there is more to watch. Okay, when you want to convert a fraction to a decimal, try to turn the denominator into tenths, hundredths, or thousandths. Just like reading a decimal helps us turn a fraction or a decimal into a fraction, if I know that if I can turn a fraction into a equivalent fraction with a denominator of 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, I can easily turn it back into a decimal. So let's look at an example. 2/5. 2/5 does not have a denominator of 10, 100, or 1,000, so I have to make an equivalent fraction. 2/5 can be turned into 4/10 because 5 times 2 is 10 and 2 times 2 is 4. And I read 4/10 the same way as a fraction that I do as a decimal. 15/25 does not have a denominator of 10, 100, or 1,000, but I know that 25 times 4 is equal to 100. So 15 times 4 is 60, and that is 60 hundredths. Or I could even say 6/10 because I don't need that 0 at the end. 11/20 does not have a denominator of 10, 100, or 1,000, but I know that 20 times 5 is 100, and 11 times 5 then is 55. So as a decimal, 11/20 is 55 hundredths. 48/50 does not have a denominator of 10, 100, or 1,000, but I know that 50 times 2 is 100, so 48 times 2 is 96. So as a decimal, 48/50 is 96 hundredths. 276 over 500 does not have a denominator of 10, 100, or 1,000, but I know that 500 times 2 is 1,000, so 276 times 2 is 552, or 552 thousandths written as a decimal. Now you're going to complete this table in your notes as well. You're going to look at the fraction, so for example 3/5, and give the decimal and percent for each of these. And 3/5 would need to be converted into a fraction of 6 over 10 so that I can find the decimal is 6/10, and the percent then would be 60% because 10 times 10 is 100 and 6 times 10 is 60. So I can make another equivalent fraction for 6/10, which would be 60 hundredths. Now pause the video and complete this table in your notes. When you're finished, continue the video as there is still more. The final thing you need to do for this assignment is to look at this number line. This number line has been written with a series of fractions. Take each fraction and turn it into a percent for A, B, C, D, E, and F. Name the percent where each of those letters should be placed. If you have any questions, make sure you put that in your WSQ in your notes. And remember, you can go back and view any part of this video if you need to hear it again.